Is that too tight for you? No. Okay. So, again, I'm Erin. I work at Claudio Marino Hair Design. Today I'm here to show you a weave. We're doing a partial weave in more of a natural form. She wants, this is a really pretty base color that she has. Luckily she's gotten it recently, about a couple weeks ago. So we're not going to go over new growth, which will create, hot roots, things like that. Who can tell me why we always start in the back with weaves? It's easier to wash out because sometimes bleach is temperamental and it's time sensitive. If you're going slowly, you always want to start in the back. Also, any other reasons?
More resistant.
More resistant. Darker hair, more resistant, always in the crown here. So that's why we start in the back. Section here, take it out. And we'll worry about that later. Really neat sections with weaving. And this is going to be where I start on top. We're only doing a partial. So a partial is just the crown and the top and the sides and whatever, basically whatever they want. So what I'm doing is, also because I'm going to be talking and who knows how long this will take, and bleach is time sensitive, and we're starting in the back, I'm just going to do a 10 volume in the back. And depending if we run out of time, I'm going to change the bleach up and do 20 volume in front. Everybody kind of understands why that's happening? Okay. You just want your bleach kind of pancake batter. But everybody likes their pancakes differently, so just thin enough to spread. That was my 10, right? Okay.
What happens if you put shut on the peroxide?
Just add more bleach.
You just add more bleach?
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's just a ratio. Like, I'm not measuring. I just like to look at consistency. Mm-hmm. And actually, what's great, there's a lot of bleaches out there that really you don't need to use a lot of because it's mostly the peroxide that you're using. I like my bleach actually a little on the thinner side. It's easier to spread. And it thickens up over time. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed that. But bleach is really annoying and it thickens up over time. So, and I'm only using a little bit. I can always add more later. But bleach is really good fresh. So if you run out, it's better than having so much extra, especially when you start paying for it yourself. I'm just going to basically go to maybe about here. And she wants it really natural looking, but I want to do it a little bit noticeable too. And I take really, really small sections with a natural. I like to start at the top and just eyeball it. And just take really thin pieces, but they're separate. I just put this really sharply cut piece of foil, thank you, and I hold the hair down and I go up. Try to get as close to the root as possible without getting too close for it to spread to the scalp. And then I just hold the foil, it kind of just holds itself in, and then, fold up whatever's left.
And I'm sorry, was that sliced or was that weaved?
It's not sliced, it's weaved,
Okay.
and you can weave in thick pieces, in thin pieces, however you want, but take very little hair. I'm just going to fold that up so it's out of her face. So we're still taking every other section. Like basically, if you take a little slice like this, you can then take every other as well, but don't take too much, or else you're going to kind of miss right here when you're painting it on. You don't ever want to make it too chunky. So pull out another piece there. Just kind of eyeball it and see. With weaving, it's really important to take your time, never pull too much hair, and make sure it's really tight. And the reason I start in the back also is because you'll see when I pull it all forward, it's out of my way. And if you have too much hair in your foils, you're going to have an issue with not being able to coat all of it with the bleach. I don't know if you guys have ever had that problem. I like to double up on foils. I do waste a lot more this way, but it makes it really pristine. But this way is the fastest way I know how to weave. And time is money, time is money, time is money. You see I'm kind of like moving it around just to make sure I got it all? So let's say you wanted more of a chunkier look, which we don't. Okay, but I'm not going to do that to you. You're going to take the same amount in your section, like this, but you're going to really basket weave it through. You're not going to do as much. See the difference?
Towards the back?
Just in general.
Oh, okay.
That's more of a chunky section.
Right.
But we're not doing that.
And how do you prevent it from bleeding? It's just all about wrapping it?
Come closer, I'll show you. So I get it, while the hair's still down, I push this here. And then I hold it really tight. You see how tight that is? And I put this, on my brush, and I start up here because there's a lot. If you started there, you'd bleed in there. So I start here, and when I have less on my brush, I just go to here, and that's even too much because when I put my new foil on, that's going to bleed.
Right.
So I just kind of rub that in. And that's how.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Of course.
So you don't go before, like you show us here with the tail of the phone?
I did for years. I got to my salon, somebody showed me this, and my life has been changed.
So just making sure you push it all the way in, it will not bleed.
Right.
And based on what you just said.
Yeah, as long as you do your weave really tightly. Now, towards the back, I don't do, I make bigger sections without than towards the front because people tend to like it a little lighter in the front. I just want to not do as many in the back.
And how come you're not closing the foil like you did the first two?
Oh, I was just doing that to get it out of her face. I'll show you when I'm finished with the back, I'll show you, pull them back.
They come out like cheetah print, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
How can that happen?
There's a lot of reasons. Reason one, it could be them. It could be medication. Their hair could just be taking really funny. There's so many different reasons why people's hair takes funny. They could be pregnant and not know it. Who knows? Given it's a woman. Another reason is, you notice here how I'm not folding them super tight? When you fold them super tight, you cut off certain areas that may not, it doesn't have enough oxygen in there. When people make really, really tight foils, it kills me because the oxygen doesn't have enough chance to get in there and oxidize. And some of the hairs may become, see I'm taking a little bit more here away. Some of the hairs may not take. That happens more with color than with bleach, I feel like. Because color moves a little easier. Bleach is kind of more sticky. And I've actually had that happen several times with color.
Really?
I was doing a demi-permanent shades cream on a panel of someone's hair. And she wanted red. It was like probably like a 7RR. I folded the foil, so obviously so the red wouldn't bleed out onto her as it was processing. And with the folds, since the cream, it was so creamy, it decided to not take in certain areas. And it was kind of ugly and had to be redone.
Yeah, so how do you, if you give someone highlights and it gets all like patchy or something, how do you correct it? You just
Well, you can color over it and start over. Or you can just actually take some lowlights to the person's hair and try to blend it. Some darker. Okay, so this will be the last piece I do in the back. I'm actually going to pull out this piece here to blend all the less chunky stuff on top. This is only a partial. If you were doing a full, you would do things a lot closer together because they're looking to have it all that color basically, almost all one color. This is just to accent her beautiful copper red that she has going on. Now, does your hair process quickly with bleach or no?
I do not know.
Okay. Everyone's hair is different. My hair takes forever to process with bleach. It takes forever to lighten. And, you know, listen to your client. They know more about their hair than you do most of the time. Not always. Some people just want to tell you how to do your job. But if somebody says, my hair takes forever or my hair processes quickly, they probably had it done before. They probably know. So you see, I'm kind of doing it loose. I take each section and I take my tail comb right at the base here so it doesn't curl. Bring this all the way up. I make it tight enough to sit, but I'm not a fan of that. Some people are. I'm not. No way's better than anybody else's. It's just different. So this really stays out of the way when you're doing the other parts of the hair. See how I just unfolded that? That was just to get it out of her face. I like to pull this piece a little tighter just because we're starting up here. I'm going to have her face me a little bit more and do the front. But I'm going to mix a little bit more bleach and 20 volume to really just boost up the time. I'm going to use about a quarter of a scoop for her back. And I'm going to use probably another half a scoop for the rest of her hair. So I'm going to do the front and the sides. Where's my tool? Pumps out a little bit. It's okay to mix, you know, when you're doing something like this, but bleach has a time limit as well as everything else. So if you have one client you're using 40 volume on, or whatever, 20 volume, and then your next client needs 20 volume, by the time you get to it, it's almost going to be like a 5, because it does lose some of its volume or strength, thank you, as time goes by. If you're using a 40 and you need just a quick something for 10, you might be able to share it, but just try only to mix what you need. Okay, so now we're going to start in the front. Take a piece here. What I do is I'm really just only taking that very top layer. In a perfect world, I would have already separated my foils.
What do you mean separated your foil?
They get stuck together when they're just sitting here. When you cut them and you've cut multiples at a time, they stick together and then it's just time consuming.
So how do you separate them as well?
Oh, you just pull them apart. Yeah, I mean, I would just be like this, like this, like this, and just have them kind of all laying in different directions. It looks really messy, but they're so easy to grab. I'm actually just going to leave straight back. I want them to not crunch, not curl, not nothing, because this is the most important part of the head. And they're out of the way enough. Now, with people with darker complexions and darker hair, such as Katlynn, generally it kind of washes you out to go so blonde, so light, you know, much lighter. Which is why we're not going very light, but also why we don't go all the way to the very front. You know, with blonde people, and they want, you know, their weaves, you want to get as close to everything as possible and cover up all that dark. We actually want to leave almost like a dark ring around her face, because that's going to keep her from being washed out. I'm almost like every other section with her. I'm doing like a little chunkier, a little less chunky, a little chunkier, just because it'll all blend together really beautifully.
How come you don't slice everything?
Because she doesn't want that look.
Oh.
Now, if somebody wants a look like
Where it's obvious?
it's really obvious, you'd almost, or they want just like a panel along their bangs or something, you take like 1, 2, 3 slices on top of each other. No breaks, no sections, just slice, slice, slice. It'll create like a big chunk. But the reason you can't do it all in one fell swoop is because you're going to miss some hairs. You need to do it thinly always when you're using foils, so you saturate all of the hair that you want to saturate. That make sense?
Will you be toning the highlight or no?
No. I mean, if we needed to, if her hair took too light, or if she had, let's say she had virgin roots, she had some regrowth in the roots, and we may have to tone that. I hate toning, I hate it. If I can avoid it at all costs, I will. The way to avoid that, honestly, is know your canvas. Let's say she does have 2 inches of regrowth, and she just wants a weave, and she doesn't want, say she went back to natural, and it's all one color, so she doesn't need a base color first. So I know that this much is regrowth. I might take 10 volume just here, and 20 volume or 30 volume for the rest to even that out.
But why did you say you don't like toning?
Because you don't have to. Toning is not really an answer, it's a fix. When you tone, usually it either means you took too long, which is fine. You know, if you have to while you're learning, that's fine. But you took too long and you got the colors wrong, or the color, you know, the hair didn't take, you know, quite right, or you didn't use the right color to begin with. Those are all fixes. Toners cost money, and when you're working for yourself, or even for somebody else, but you're paying for your own product. Notice I took a bigger chunk out here, because I want her to stay pretty dark around the front.
It costs money.
Oh yeah, it costs money, and it takes time, and you're on a schedule. You know, I have somebody, I have, let's say, a partial weave, a haircut, and a blow dry. That's 2 hours that it takes me. If I then have to do a 20-minute toner, you know, then my next client's sitting and waiting. So it costs, you know, another, you know, maybe $8, $9, $10 in product for me. But, you know, that's all money I'm losing because I screwed up. Toners are great. Demi-permanents are great for people who don't have gray, who just want a little bit of color, and it fades, or they're just testing out to see if they like having color. I'm just doing it really, really subtly right here. This is going to be my last piece. Then they're great. And they're on for, you know, 6, 8, 12 weeks, however long, and, you know, how often they wash their hair. And it fades out, and they decide if they want to continue to do it or not. Or they're the person that likes to change their color a lot. Great. Those, you know, the shades colors are excellent for that. But toners, for fixing, I'm not a fan. Okay. So, we're done with the top here. So what I do is I take out, you know, just a little bit here to give me like a base to start with. And this part doesn't need to be colored. Nobody's ever going to see that. And I do on this angle. That way you can't really see the pieces, where I've started them, where I've weaved them. It's not so obvious. It blends really, really nicely on this angle. Pull it really tight, because this piece here is really awkward, because it's attached to so many other pieces. Just pull it really tight. Do your best. I'm being a little bit gentle in her ends. Her ends are light already, and they're probably a little bit more fragile since she's lightened them in the past. So I'm almost just barely even putting any bleach on them. Yeah, you see I'm kind of just leaving some of these out. I'm still going to cover them with foil. I just don't want to like saturate them. And if your angles, you see how mine just kind of went like this, kind of got a little wonky. I'm just going to re-angle it. You can kind of, the sides are kind of playful. You can do basically whatever you think you want to do on the sides. They're not as noticeable, but you still want to make sure that they blend. I'm not going to do as many on her sides just because we did so much on the top. And this is my last section real fast. I'm only going to do just a little bit right there. Not too close to the ears, not too close to the face. With the sides, I'm going to do the same thing I did here, as I did on the top. I kind of like to fold these so they're not in the eyes, but there's no, I'm folding it only where there's no hair. Now tilt your head to the side just a little. This way all the foils don't come crashing down on you at once. And it's okay to tell your client, move this way, move that way, tilt your head to the side. You want to make sure your clients are comfortable. Are you comfortable? Is this water too hot? Is it too cold? You know, almost every time I've gotten a donation, like a raffle person that's come in, they stay with me. So that's part of the reason, as well as I like to do nice things. It does promote free service, just to get somebody new in your chair, and you're good and you're personable and they like you, you're going to keep them. Money in there. I like the every 3 weekers.
Now, when someone walks in, is there any reason you would say no to
Just a random walk-in?
request?
Yes. If a client's hair is too damaged for what they want, you run the risk of them having their hair fall out or having their color not, you know, deposit correctly or anything like that. You can recommend. I never just say no to people. I always recommend something else. If then they don't want to do what my recommendation is, I've been known to tell them, I'm so sorry, I think you'd be better suited finding somebody else that can help you. Or if somebody doesn't know what they want, and they're, I want this, but I don't want this, but I want this, and they're contradicting themselves, and they're really either not sure or they just seem, you gotta use your judgment. Tell him, thank you. I've had times where I should have said no and I didn't, and been sorry later. You just have to use your judgment. That only comes with experience, unfortunately. Put you under the heat just because I want to see how the process is. That's all you can do. I'm just going to let her sit for a few, maybe I should put you under the heat for a couple minutes. Let me just check the back pieces here where I started. See how those are processing. So yeah, we've got it pretty caramel going on in here. I'm going to put her under the heat for like 2-3 minutes.
Is this all right? Yeah.
Then we're going to check it again, and if the back is ready and done, we're just going to take out off the back and let the front and the sides keep processing.
And how long will you leave her under the heat?
I'm just going to go and check her. I mean, there's really no distinct time. Everyone's hair processes differently. You just got to keep going back and checking. Never, never, never leave your client. Go, get a coffee, go smoke a cigarette, do whatever you're going to do. Never leave a client. If you have a client inside, you stay inside, because what if they need something? What if chemical starts dripping down their face in the dryer? What if they want a glass of water? I'm going to help you so that we go quickly. This is my favorite part right here. Grab all of these at the end and just pull. Break up the line. I'll do it so you don't get your hands all gross. Okay, now you go. You don't want to be too aggressive with bleach. Anytime there's bleach in the hair, you want to be gentle. But you can, you just don't want to pull the hair.
Right.
Just, make sure that you wet the whole thing over first, because wet stops the process.
Oh, okay.
So that's first and foremost. Just get it soaking wet, and then you can really go through it. Shampoo twice.